Matthew, let me ask you, some tense moments there in Brussels between President Trump and European leaders. What is Prime Minister May looking to hear, hoping to hear from the president in order to maintain that so-called special relationship between the U.S. and UK?
Well, good evening. I would say what the Prime Minister is wishing to seek from President Trump would be a trade deal, a good trade deal that protects not only the interests of the British people and our economy, but one that's also beneficial to the American people as well. That's what she's going to be hoping for.
Is the British government, like has been sort of raised in the air by some European leaders, looking elsewhere, looking outside the United States, needing to maybe strengthen other alliances in light of the very different relationship with the Trump White House?
Well, I hope we certainly do. Our former Commonwealth countries, we certainly should be seeking trade deals and seeking to trade with them once again. It'd also be an exciting opportunity for countries such as Israel. For example, many of our oranges come from Spain, but it will be an opportunity that we'll be able to have oranges from Jaffa, and that would be a great for not only the Israeli economy, but also for the palate of the British people.
Matthew, you're having some tense moments there in the UK over this Novichok situation. Do you think that President Trump and the leadership there are on the same page about Russia? And will Prime Minister May talk to the president about raising that with Vladimir Putin?
I certainly hope that our Prime Minister does raise the issue. It is quite a shock to the people of the United Kingdom that someone has actually died on British soil by what appears to be an attack by a foreign agent. This is greatly shocking to many of us. And while I do understand that President Trump wishes to have a good relationship with President Putin, I hope that he certainly not only respects the special relationship between the United Kingdom and the United States, but actually puts it on the table and says to Putin, this kind of actions are just not acceptable in the modern day and age.
And what if he does not? What if Trump does not follow through on what European leaders like British Prime Minister Theresa May would like him to do with Vladimir Putin?
Well, as I say, this should be something that I hope that Prime Minister Theresa May actually takes up with him. Other European leaders have been very clear that they suspect the involvement of an agent of Russia. And I'd be very surprised if he chose not to actually bring it up with Mr. Putin. This is a president who's demonstrated again and again that he's quite prepared to make difficult decisions and have difficult conversations with people. And I hope this will be one of those examples.
Matthew, of course, you're in the midst of this Brexit affair or controversy or process. Are you satisfied with the way your government is proceeding on it? And what do you hope to hear from President Trump, especially if the UK is going to leave the EU trading bloc?
Well, I have some concerns, particularly about a white paper which was published today. And we saw some rather unedifying scenes as Parliament was actually suspended, as members of the House of Commons were literally throwing around these documents in order so that they could read it as the minister was making a statement. I've had a cursory look at the white paper, but I do wish to look at some of the detail in that. And I still remain very sceptical that this is the right approach. Now, the government does have to go through a process, we recognise, with Parliament and then with the European Union itself to actually negotiate the terms of Britain's departure. But we were told all along that Brexit means Brexit, and that means that we're leaving the European Union. But that also means that we must leave some of the institutions, including the rulings from the European Court of Justice. And it would not be acceptable to the British public, who over 17 million people voted to leave, if such rulings and judges had a power over the United Kingdom and its residents. So it's got to mean a complete divorce from the European Union.
With this white paper that was published, it obviously already pushed 3 ministers, including British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson, to get up and leave. Do you think that we can expect more of that, more departures from British government?
Well, I think it's probably settled down now. There has been a few other minor resignations. The particular cabinet ministers that you talk about, Boris Johnson and David Davis made it very clear that he was expected to go out and sell this policy, and he felt he couldn't do that. And as such, he wasn't the best person to remain in post. And I think he took the right decision there, and he should be for others to actually do that if they believe in it. I have to say, speaking to many of my colleagues, many of us are concerned that we don't actually believe in it either. So it's going to be for the British government and the British cabinet particularly to sell it. But so far, it hasn't been sold very well to members of parliament.
Matthew, I'm speaking to you from Israel. There's been a lot of concern here over expressions of anti-Semitism, primarily in the Labour Party, but also in Great Britain in general. How concerned should the Jewish community here, there, and elsewhere be about this phenomena?
Well, I have a large Jewish constituency. Many of my constituents are of the Jewish faith, and they remain very concerned about it. It's troubling that the Labour Party, where the many years of actually acting upon racism and other problems, have chosen, or some people have chosen, not to actually address this problem. There are people within the Labour Party. There certainly are people around the leadership who hold views about Israel and often conflate Judaism with Israel. And I was very pleased to see that at least one member of the Labour Party has actually put down a motion for their parliamentary party meeting on Monday, where they want their opposition leadership to accept the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism. I think that would go a long way. It will also show the number of people in the parliamentary Labour Party who are unhappy with their leadership and their definition.